The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 4th day of November, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamel Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by Peoples. Happy Tuesday, everyone. How's everyone feeling today? I am excited, happy to be back with you once again to have a very engaging conversation with you. We've got a good discussion coming up, and then we'll bring in our guests. So greetings to you all, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome former politician John Barritt onto the show. We're going to be discussing pretty much Bermuda politics today, leadership, the economy, and what's next for Bermuda. The daily play is a remember when. Yeah, I don't know what we're asking you today. I got it. All right. It's a remember when. All right. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website if you haven't already, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. And if you haven't already, and you all have been awesome, I mean awesome. Maya has not even had to remind you during her news break. We haven't even had to remind you on social media. But if you haven't, if there's just someone out in the audience who has not completed our survey yet, please do us a favor. I believe we've already had one person, Zena, who has won a stretch session. Yeah, folks, I had a stretch session yesterday. And, because I'm getting old, so I got to go get my stretching in. And it's one of the most rewarding things for the body. Seriously, it's a beautiful thing. So again, we'll be giving away more prizes as we go. And remember, I keep telling you there are quite a few new things coming out from Bermuda Trivia. Well, I'll share with you one of the new things coming out later in this show. All right. Well, let's jump into it. Suzanne Ingham says, it's a super awesome Tuesday, Jamel. TDH is in the house. I'm excited. Mr. Barritt is back. Yeah. We're excited he's back as well, Suzanne, and looking forward to the conversation. Always an awesome Tuesday with you in the audience engaging us. And folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Before we jump in and give you the question of the morning, do us that favor. If you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, or Instagram, hit the like, love, share button, send it to your friends, your family, your colleagues. We are about to have another important community conversation. And here's your question for the morning. What are your thoughts on the government granting pardons or expungements for certain past crimes? So pardoning people who've been convicted of things or expunging their records. What are your thoughts on that? Right. And this is a deeper conversation than just the question. So feel free to go as deep as you want. And also, do you think anyone with a weak conviction, like simple possession, should get a pardon? Like, should they get their record fully expunged? What are your thoughts on these questions this morning? Now, you may be wondering, well, why are we having this conversation? Well, you saw in the news the other day that President Donald Trump pardoned the former exec from Binance, which, Bermuda had some dealings with in some respect. And I just want to give some background in Bermuda because we've had pardons. I know it's not a big thing where in the U.S. you see pardons happening all the time by U.S. presidents, especially during their final days in office. But government pardons and expungement in Bermuda. Let's give you some background and current legal framework. So Bermuda has already taken steps to allow expungement of certain convictions. For example, under the Expungement of Convictions Act 2020, eligible persons convicted of simple cannabis possession under specific conditions can apply for expungement. So they have taken steps, the government, and credit to the government for that. A pardon, just to give you an idea, is distinct but related, right? To expungement. It means government or the governor, right, formally forgives the past offense, often restoring rights and removing the stigma of conviction. So that's what the pardon is as it relates to expungement. Now, historical examples in Bermuda, in 2019, if you all remember 2019, there was a historic example with Reverend Charles Vinton Monk, who received a posthumous pardon, right? I don't know if you remember that, but he was an American pastor who was imprisoned in Bermuda in 1903 after exposing unfair labor conditions for Jamaican workers, right? And he was not pardoned until over 100 years later. And I believe that may have been driven by Reverend Tweed. But why are we having this conversation? Why should we even consider offering pardons or expend expungement? I think it's really about fairness and reintegration, right? Many Bermudians with old convictions are prevented from full participation in society, whether it's employment, travel. Like I've heard horror stories of Bermudians. You've got people, maybe they've changed their lives. They're pastors now, they're CEOs. They're just everyday, honest 9-to-5 working people, blue collar workers, right? Committed something over 40 years ago, and it's still being held against them, something that may be legal now or decriminalized now, right? Or the law changed in their favor, right? So pardons or expungements can reduce impediments that people face. Also, it can address legacy effects. Some convictions have roots in discriminatory practices or outdated laws, right? And there are people who are making the argument, well, you know, it's amazing how many people are in prison for things that are now legal. Well, pardons can help repair past wrongs. Boosting social mobility. When people with a conviction can move forward without ongoing legal barriers, they're more likely to contribute positively. Yeah. And then giving people a fresh start may reduce repeat offending and improve public safety. Yeah. So who might benefit and under what criteria? Folks, we say certain crimes because we're talking about nonviolent crimes, minor offenses, or offenses whose legal context has changed. Those might be some of the strong candidates to be granted a pardon or have their record expunged. Some of the criteria could include time lapse since the last conviction. If this person hasn't been convicted, they were 18 and convicted of simple possession, and now they're 47, nothing in between, just an honest, law-abiding citizen. Yeah, we should include that, right? Good conduct, evidence of community contribution or rehabilitation, like people who are involved in community, maybe they're a coach or, just an honest person who gives back. Government can probably create a pardon or remissions board, like they have a parole board, transparent applications and communication of eligibility. No, all that good. There's obviously going to be some potential risk and considerations, right? There are going to be some risk, and let's go through those. Public perception. Some may see pardons as letting people off the hook too easily, especially victims who expect accountability, right? Victims' right. We need to respect what victims feel. Ensure pardons don't undermine their perspectives or safety, right? We don't want to mess with that. So again, we have to make it sure it's certain crimes. Travel immigration consequences. Even if Bermuda grants a pardon or expungement, overseas jurisdictions like the United States may not recognize it automatically or at all, right? Because if you were convicted of something and they put you on, we love to say the stop list, right? I mean, they don't have to remove you, right? So that's something that may not come with it. Consistency and transparency. The process must be clear, fair and avoid like potential cost and administrative burdens. It has to maintain the trust of the people. Now, how could we construct a program like this? Launch a public consultation. We do for everything else. Solicit views from victim groups, right? We've got Dr. Gina Spence coming on Friday, right? Civil society, law enforcement, people with convictions. Involve the community in how we can make this work. Set up, as I mentioned, the pardon or remission board, right? Independent or semi-independent body. Again, we have a board for everything else. Combine with support services. There are so many different groups out there. Women's Resource Center, drug counseling services, home. So many people who could have a say. Well, this person's really made a turnaround. Like, let's give people a fair and honest opportunity. Housing help for those pardoned. So pardons lead to meaningful reintegration. Publish some data and outcomes. The number of because we love to do things without measuring impact, right? So if we do go the route of pardoning and expunging, use some outcomes. We've pardoned 10 people since 2020, and this is how they contributed to society. Use these as examples to give confidence in our community. Show how they've reintegrated in society. Effect on employment. Yeah? Educate the public. Ensure that pardons are understood, but not as no consequence, but as restoration of rights after rehabilitation. Now, I'll end it here. What are the potential benefits for Bermuda and Bermudians? We always talk about inclusivity. It could literally provide us with a more inclusive society. Fewer people held back by past mistakes, increased workforce participation, strengthen human rights reputation, aligning with global best practices for justice and rehabilitation, economic gains, folks. When more people can work, contribute, pay taxes, the economy benefits. And social cohesion, reducing a stigma that may lead to better family stability, less hidden marginalization. I'm going to tell you, I've been to the airport. And when you have to go over on the side, when the airport's packed, you do feel away. You do feel away. All right, I gave you a lot this morning. So based on everything I've said, audience, based on everything I've shared this morning, what are your thoughts on the government granting pardons or expungements for certain past convictions? And also, do you think anyone with a weed conviction, simple possession, should get a pardon? Let's see what you have to say in the audience. I agree. I agree with Suzanne Ingham. It depends on the crime committed. Absolutely. It has to. Look, let's be very clear. Anyone who's convicted of a serious crime, and when I say serious crime, murder, sexual abuse, interfering with a minor, we can go on. Anything that is serious, I'm not on board as of this moment. Because to me, the victims should have a say in that. Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, we can't follow the lead of Trump. He pardons hardened criminals. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's important to have this conversation, but I think we have to be careful with this. The idea is to pardon people who have simple, what would be classified as maybe misdemeanors in the United States, right? And also things that history shows they were actually on the right side, like the Reverend Monk situation, or those who have been convicted. And I know the law was the law on the day, but we've got to understand, whether we agree with the legalization of marijuana or not, that some of these laws were race-based. We've got Rhonda Trott says, I believe that if the settlement in Parliament has changed around that any crime, then people should be automatically granted clemency. I agree. I said it many years ago. I said, if Bermuda were to move toward legalizing marijuana, then the first thing that should go along with that law is to wipe the records of anyone who was convicted of simple possession. So I agree with you. But She says, but it should be a set of criteria for pardons, not up to one person, such as the governor. So absolutely, that's why we mentioned earlier, create a committee or a board that involves various people throughout the community and monitor it, right? Monitor these pardons, monitor the expungements, so that we can actually have real hard data and results as to whether this is impacting our community positively and how we should move forward. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, even though we pardon, we might still have to apply to the U.S. to be taken off their stop list. Absolutely. And I hope people understand this. One doesn't necessarily mean we're good with the other. So if you had, let's say, simple possession and you were put on the so-called stop list, and the government of Bermuda says, okay, we're going to expunge all those convictions between, let's say, 1980 and 2005 for simple possession. That's the Bermuda government. That's not the U.S. saying that, okay, we'll ignore your record as well, because in their eyes, to them, you still committed a crime. It was a crime of the day. So I take your point, Miss Ellen Kate Horton. What else, audience? What else? What are your thoughts on the government granting pardons or expungements for certain past convictions? And do you think anyone, this is a yes or no, do you think anyone with a weed conviction, simple possession, should get a pardon? Now, I remember a couple of years ago, people were like, no, they broke the law. They knew what the law was on the day. No, they should not get a pardon. They shouldn't, because it was not, it's at the time when they did it, they were breaking the law. Well, if that's your mindset, for anybody who is a beneficiary of, civil rights movements, human rights movements, I don't think the law was necessarily reflective of what's just. So I think it's important for us to be conscious of that. But we've got Dorian. Dorian says, yes, Bermudians should be given pardons for minor convictions, but if they're on the U.S. stop list, that will not change. Correct. But I don't even think this is about just the U.S. stop list. This is really about people finding jobs and stuff. There are still people who say, hey, I can't find work because of my weed conviction. And there are certain organizations that, well within their rights to choose to do that, right? Ms. Ellen K. Horton says, before we consider legalizing, we must educate our people to attempt to avoid serious dangers. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think education is the key component to anything, right? We don't want to just put more opportunities for them to harm themselves, which, again, I understand the positive benefits of everything, but for all that's positive about anything, abuse of anything also can lead to danger, right? So, no, I appreciate that. WKD Lama says, pardons are fair. The law was unjust. Yeah. There were many unjust laws. And Sean Smith says, yes to weed. Yes to weed. Outside of marijuana convictions, is there anything else that comes to mind for anyone in the audience that you'd say, you know what? People convicted of that should also receive a pardon. Is there anything that comes to mind that you're like, you know what? We should also be considered a pardon for this kind of conviction? What else would come to mind for you? This is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. But what else comes to mind for you? I mean, I didn't get a criminal record for the whole conscription thing, but while we're talking about pardons and expungements, I think there's a certain, do we have the conversation about reparations? Have those convicted of these crimes, do they deserve reparations? I certainly, today and until it happens, if it never happens, to death, believe that a government, when admits they're wrong, should pay reparations for certain things, whether it's conscription or Reverend Monk's family legacy. It's not just a pardon, right? Pay into a scholarship for other laborers or civil rights folks. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of pardoning people. All right, that's your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. We've got Maya Palacio coming up with your daily hour news break. We're going to take a quick break to give some thanks to Titan Express and Secure. And then, folks, don't forget, we've got former politician MP John Barritt coming up for a conversation, kicking on. But hey, keep your comments and your questions coming, and we'll see you in a bit.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All righty, let's bring Maya Palacio in for your daily hour news break.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, Maya. So, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I'd love to hear, because this is not a conversation we have regularly in Bermuda about expungements or pardons. Like I said, the last one I know of in Bermuda was 2019. And that was Reverend Monk. And that was from something before even Sherry was born in 1903, So I can't think of anything recent that would come to mind. But at the same time, you don't see a lot of people fighting to get rid of or have their records expunged in Bermuda like you would in other places.
You know what? I would say that's a fair estimate, but I will want to add this little piece of information that hasn't been talked about yet. This morning, the fact that we do have, the cannabis possession expungement that came into effect as well. So I know a lot of people brought up, weed or cannabis like that should be expunged, especially if we do decide to legalize it here in Bermuda, which is another conversation altogether. But yeah, the act did come into place, but
the
expungement of convictions, and you have to have it deemed at an amount of 7 grams or less. So those who have been criminalized for it can get that expunged. You have to file something within the government website, and they have it on there as well that you can get the form, file it, and hopefully potentially get that expunged. Granted, it's just for 7 grams and less, but it is something, and there's a step there that could potentially go further. Again, that's something people would need a voice ask for and keep fighting for in order for those things to get up and up. Now, in terms of having a committee, because that was also spoken about, this one doesn't necessarily go toward it, but I did mention this on the news I think last month. October 5th, the Sentencing Guidelines Committee was formed. Maybe that's something that they can also take on, but it was basically made to chair how specific drafting offenses for specific guidelines for Bermuda. So whether or not someone does commit a crime, how their lifestyle, what happened, maybe even mental stability, all those things can kind of figure out what this person's sentence should be. So in those,
I like that.
Yeah. So those are 2 things that are happening right now on the island that we do have coming through. But to say more things or what I believe should be considered for expungement, I think I would love to see more cases that specifically had a lot of mental illness or something that was really prevalent then, but wasn't necessarily named until now type crimes, things that people did act and do. I would like to see maybe those looked into a little bit more as well. That's something that came to mind during this conversation.
I as far as you mentioned in the committee, the sentencing one, I like your suggestion about just make this inclusive of their work. Why create another committee, right? I think that
we have so many committees. It's I know that this work can also be,
Yeah, no, and I said that when I was just another committee. We have enough already, but I just think it's a worthy conversation. But what I want to emphasize, Maya, because these little, what they call them sound bites. I think it's important for us to emphasize what Michael Daniels is pretty much saying right here. We're really speaking about nonviolent civil disobedience or small grams. We're not talking about serious crime. And when we say serious crime in media, it can mean murder, sexual assault, abuse. You can even put DUI under there, driving on the influence, which is a serious crime because you're putting other people's lives at risk and so on. So I just want to make that clear. We're talking about something like civil disobedience. If people are protesting and break a law, like somebody with simple possession of weed or something like that, not paying a traffic effect, like, we're not talking about serious crime, because we have to emphasize that. We have, because one of the things, sorry, real quick, make this point. One of the things we want to do, because I said this earlier, and I don't want people to miss this. You have to respect the victims in this process, if there are victims. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, 1,000%. And just like we're talking about the committee and how it's formed to kind of figure out sentencing, I think it is a smart look to also think about how, a crime is committed and why it was committed by that specific person, and looking back into seeing like, oh, well, in certain situations, in certain ethics, certain morals, certain like upbringings, you could bring back, not even bring back, because it's still here and it's always going to be relevant, race or, household incomes, upkeep, like everything affects how people live today in demographics and in certain even genders. So it's just things have to be taken into consideration. I do agree to that sentiment, and having a committee, maybe this one even looking into something like that might be worth it, because obviously will help prevent.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic, as Mark Arthur C. Phillips says. I think when it was shown in Bermuda's news that the Binance guy was pardoned by President Trump, and then you saw the congressman, the disgraced congressman up in New York, just pardoned. And I take Miss Ellen Kate Horton's point that, we don't want to take that route of pretty much pardoning criminals that are harming people. But I think we can take a very sensible approach to this. And again, folks, let me say this clearly. Discrimination is okay and necessary when it comes to protecting people. What do I mean by that? We're not pardoning someone who has alleged offenses against children who's looking for a job at a nursery. No, if Maya and I own that nursery, we will discriminate legally and say, no, you cannot do this job. You cannot work around children. If you have robbed a bank before and Maya and I are the bank managers, no, you cannot be a teller at our bank working with money. Like, there are certain cases. So I know I'm being very that person right now to explain stuff, because I'm trying to avoid the sound bites. All right. So
it's like I said, like, we wanted to go with something that probably already has a little bit of a blueprint. So yes, cannabis, weed, especially like how it's been handled in Canada, that's a blueprint that we can look at and try to see like, well, what can we do here similarly? So like, definitely starting at those type of level cases, like I get what you mean in that sentiment, because there's this story, I don't know if anyone tapped into it, but like the Netherlands, I think it's a Netherlands player. Yes, it is Netherlands, Australian, trying to play in Australia, but they have a player on the team who was convicted and then sentenced, but only for a very short time, for sexually assaulting and raping like a minor, like 12 at the time. He was like 20 years old, and now there's this conflict of him being able to play in the Worlds for volleyball, and Australia said nope, he cannot come here. Like, and I'm proud of Australia putting 10 toes down, because Paris 2024 Olympics, they didn't, and he actually was able to play at the Olympics. So that's, just things like that, that are definitely being talked about globally, and some things are definitely.
Let's keep these conversations going. These are things that, and that, thank you for that example as well, because that goes back to the stop this. All right, what you got for us in news? I'm sorry.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Owl News Break, brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy. So from family household medicines to fresh toys, and obviously huge, big moments, wherever life takes you, People's is here when you need us. So a familiar face, a caring hand, and a reminder that you matter. So we're going to start our news break this morning talking about a little something that the government has implemented after the Cost of Living Summit. And you want to tap into this because it could and should affect your daily life. So here's the story. So here's what the government just launched and what you should know. The Ministry of Home Affairs has rolled out the Affordable Bermuda Basket, a curated list of everyday grocery and household brands that will be discounted island-wide from November 1st of 2025 through July 31st of 2026 at Lindo's and the Marketplace. It's a public-private deal where wholesalers cut 10% and then retailers match the other 10% on designated items. So shoppers should see about 20% off on those products. The full list is posted on the costofliving.gov.bm site, some of which are Ben's Original Log Grain White Rice, Dunkley's Large Eggs White, Filippo Berrio Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil, Charmin Ultra Soft Bath Tissue, Pamper Baby Dry Diapers numbers 1 through 6, and Similac Advanced Infant Formula with Iron Powder. What matters for your wallet? The basket targets specific brands and staples, and it's time limited. So this is only occurring for 9 months and is aimed at a kind of a short-term relief while broader efforts are being put in place through the work of the government. So we spoke to Zach Marnes. Now he's the manager of Lindo's and also gave us a further breakdown on the deal, which relates to Lindo's group of companies only. So for those wondering if the 20% off basket discount combines with the Lindo's Tuesdays and Wednesdays 5% discount already existing, yes, it does. The consumer will get 20% off associated items plus 5% off on Tuesday and Wednesdays, and there will be no limits on purchasing items. Now, as for the rollout, they also asked for a bit of patience because although the items will have Lindo's regular yellow special labels with a small blue affordable basket tag added to the bottom of it, the timelines were pretty tight coming into this. So Zach says, I would ask the consumer to give us a few days to get all the labels out and a couple of weeks to make sure we have all the products in stock. I learned yesterday that some of the items are not in stock yet. This is not unusual, especially after a hurricane. This is something we deal with every month, but the consumer may not be aware of the stock challenges we face week in, week out. Once the initiative gets into high gear, the stock challenges should subside. And for all of you online shoppers, the online service is a premium service, and as a result, there are no deals available on products on the dropit.bm website. Closing out on what to expect, Zach says the consumer is getting a great deal, but the response can be positive and negative. The better informed consumers will know they are getting a great deal. Other than that, he says we tend to try and ignore the negative noise and just get on with what has been asked of us. So, checking your past grocery receipts now and then comparing them later is probably the best tip to really know whether this initiative is making a difference for you. We knew this was rolling out after the Cost of Living Summit, which happened in June of 2025, and before the year ended, some of the promise was kept. The public can view the full list of items included in the Affordable Bermuda Agenda and the Affordable Bermuda Basket by visiting costofliving.gov.bm.
Seems like a check off the government list to say that they've done something. But I think, as Mr. Simmons said yesterday, it's short term.
Mm-hmm.
What next? Because is this going to be okay? We'll extend it for another 6. We'll extend it. Like what? I think someone said it yesterday after the show. They reached out. They said, it seems like it's a Band-Aid on a broken bone, not a cast.
No, we brought it to the light. I think also OBA's Michael Fahey, when I made a story here, he talked about it and said basically the same thing as a Band-Aid solution and what the OBA would have done differently, and saying that this is something that, sort of has been in place, no discounts at grocery stores. Granted, this one, as you would have listened to, is supposedly much larger, and it even said on the website, if you're spending $250, you should be saving about $50 more monthly. So it is a pretty wide margin, but I would still say check your own grocery receipts, have them handy now, and know and feel, if it's actually going to make a difference for you. But yeah, this is something that kind of has been in place, but it's still supposed to be a bigger jump for us. All right, now let's move on to some bigger news coming out of the UK right now for women's health mainly. The morning after pill is now free at nearly 10,000 pharmacies. So this means no GP appointment, just a confidential chat with a pharmacist, and you can walk out with emergency contraception at no cost. The NHS leaders are calling it one of the biggest changes to sexual health services since the 1960s, and it's meant to end the troubles where Some women paid up to £30, while others got it free. For context, making emergency contraception free and local cuts the two biggest barriers, which are time and money. EC works by delaying ovulation. It does not end an existing pregnancy, which is a misconception. It prevents one from starting, and the sooner you take it, the better it works. Now, this shift moves care into the community, so most people are within a short walk of access to it. Should also ease pressure on GP practice and the sexual health clinics. Some other quick facts to note: the morning after pill is not an effective birth control method, so make sure you're still discussing safe sex practices with your doctor or gynecologist. Also left out of conversation a lot around the morning after pill is the guidance notes that higher weight or BMI can reduce the effectiveness of some oral pills. And some Planned Parenthood sites and also labels on the pills note that the effectiveness of the morning after pill may decrease for individuals weighing over 165 pounds. So bringing it back home to Bermuda, the morning after pill has been available over the counter from a pharmacist since like 2017, but it's not free here. Prices do vary by pharmacy, so make sure you call ahead of time as well to see about what the available costs are. And also in Bermuda, if you didn't know, only women can purchase the pill and not men. But with all that said, in England, emergency contraception just got faster and cheaper, which should reduce unplanned pregnancies and widen access to timely care. It's a step in the right direction for women's health.
This may sound really dumb, but why aren't men allowed to?
So from a conversation that I had, mainly, I would say about 2-3 years ago, but a friend of mine actually was in the UK and they could not get their significant other to pick it up. She has to go get it herself. But it's for the instance of, well, a man could take it, crush it, put it into a woman's drink without like her knowledge. There was another one as well, or like buying it for, a minor if they sexually assaulted or did something to them. So that's why they only have it for women to purchase it. Though I did make the argument, I was like, well, couldn't they just get a woman to buy it for them as well? Like it's definitely an up there sort of question that kind of floats, but they're doing it mainly for safety precautions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you for explaining.
No problem. All right, so we're gonna just close out with the weather this morning. It says it's gonna be some early clouds and a chance of a couple showers as well in the afternoon, and we got a high of 75 degrees.
Thank you so much for that, Maya. Maya, we've got birthdays, we got first haircuts, we've got anniversaries, all in the TDH crew. So first off, we want to get a anniversary shout out, wedding anniversary to the Marshalls, Larry Marshall Jr. and Sharina. They celebrate, I don't know if it's 5 or 4 years, but they've got some years in. So congratulations to them. Yep. Then Gunnar turned 7 today. Mia's son Gunnar's 7 today. So we've got to send the Gunnar man a happy birthday shout out to him. Hopefully he has a wonderful day. And then Phil's son Shiloh got his first haircut yesterday. Man, that's you all don't understand. Like, I don't even like I go to the barber just because I want somebody to talk to now, right? So he better enjoy those days, some milestones. But Maya, I'm a hypocrite, you all, so admit it. Well, it's election day here. And I'm telling you all this publicly because got to learn from my own words. Folks, I had to go down a rabbit hole last night. Like Maya, I'm serious. I had to go look up all these candidates and all this stuff. I don't like, what does this mean? Commission of this. Oh, they've raised my electricity 3 times in 3 years and so on. So those who don't know how like US elections work, it's a lot. Like we were having this conversation in TDH group last night. Like, would we be better off voting for like the Commission of Education versus having them appointed, stuff like that? So that said, because I know you all would judge me, you all pressured me into looking up all this stuff. So I figured out who I'm gonna vote for. I did know who the mayor of the city was, though. I did know that. That's good. Yeah, I just didn't know like what was up on offer. Like even my pops was like, "You voting on the governor?" I'm like, "No, I don't think." So I looked at the ballot. But I say that to say this, folks. I can't get on her every day talking about our responsibility, right? As people, whether you choose to vote or not. But how many times has Maya said she's done a poll asking people about information about certain things politically, right? I chose to live in this space. It's my duty to know what I have to do or how I can contribute to make sure that this space exists for the benefit of the majority in a fair and just way. So that said, don't be like me. Do not wait to the night before to start working on that final project. Because that's what it was like. Seriously. Reading all this stuff and then going through videos and trying to get to know who people were. So my apologies to you all, but that it is election day. That's one of the days of the year. Here's another one. I see Maya over there judging me with her eyes. It's okay.
Not judging. I'm just thinking, wow, I remember the days in school when I had to like do a project on the night before. Normally it turned out great, but at the same time, in the hands of your future, I don't know. I probably would have given it a little bit more thought. Yeah.
Hey man, look, maybe so. In truth, I will get these texts. I'll read one for you, because I don't look at text. I honestly don't. But lately, some fella's been emailing me, and he's been or texting me or a group, and they've been saying, says, "Hey Jamel, this is Evan with Black Male Initiative. It's election season, and this fall, Georgia voters will have the opportunity to vote for 2 public service commissioners." And he goes on and on and on. Maya, you think I'm reading this text from some unknown number?
No.
Gee, that's how they approach you here. You feel me? Whereas in Bermuda, they come on your doorstep or they annoy you more personally. So forgive me.
I don't know. I would prefer a text. I would like a text message, a WhatsApp group. At least you're getting the reminder. Even if you don't read it, I would love the reminder that it's coming up and for me to like look into something or whatever. Yeah. Granted, I do like the face-to-face. And I love being able to, but I love to be able to like, if you're there, I can, reach you.
Maybe I'm just acting like a spoiled Bermudian who is used to politics.
Yeah. You're getting all this access and you're mad about it.
Yeah. I'm like that. All right, so it's election day here, folks. And other days it's use your common sense day. It's use your common sense day. Well, common sense would say don't wait till the night before, Jamel. Even though it worked in college once or twice, that you can't really get everything you need to know. And then what else is it? We also have National Candy Day, Easy Bake Oven Day, and Chicken Lady Day. What's Chicken Lady Day? We'll leave it at that. Maya, you have a wonderful day.
You too.
I have to go vote after the show, so I'll holler at you tonight. Peace.
Bye.
All right, my Palacio, folks. We are going to take a quick break. Don't forget, when we come back, we've got former MP John Barritt joining us.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Here with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
At HSBC, how we do business in our community is as important to us as what we do for our community.
We are here at Hunger Bay with HSBC today. We're planted over 500 mangroves using 2 different methods. This work is very vital for our mangrove ecosystem and would not be possible without HSBC's generous support.
I am super happy that we have a team here of colleagues helping us replant some of the mangroves. Mangroves are critical for preserving coastal nature. And with recent hurricanes, there have been taken away by waves. By replanting them, we are really helping nature be at its best.
Thank you so much for HSBC for sponsoring the Microforest Project, but by extension, the Hungry Bay Restoration Project.
Thank you to all of the charities, corporate partners, and HSBC volunteers for your commitment to our community.
SCARS stands for Saving Children and Revealing Secrets, and we are a Bermuda nonprofit organization whose mission is to reduce the risk of child sexual abuse and to be an advocate and a voice for children who've been sexually molested, as well as their affected family. New media like the Daily Hour is really important in partnering with organizations like SCARS. It's another platform for us for awareness. There can be no radio silence as it relates to child sexual abuse, and we need as many initiatives as we can get. We need to keep this message alive. In terms of us and the work that we do, live engagement is good because it allows the audience to ask questions, to make comments, even to provide us with encouragement and support. What I love about the live engagement when SCARS is being interviewed by Jamel is just this feeling of safety, this feeling that he gets it. He cares about children. It's a connection.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Jamel Hartman here. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medicals, Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we connect these conversations with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5. Folks, if you haven't already, please go to our website, thedailyhour.com. Make sure you subscribe, but also fill out our survey. This is the final week. We'll have the survey up. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, we've got a very special guest today. Let's give a warm TDH welcome to, he's returning. I think this is the third time this year. We're lucky to have Mr. John Barritt. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome. Greetings, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, Jamel. I'm good. It's afternoon where I am, but good morning.
Yes. You are definitely. And we appreciate you even more for joining us while you are over the other side of the pond. But I got to ask you before we jump in. We were talking about expunging records and pardons earlier in the discussion. Mr. Barritt, did you have anything to add to that conversation?
I'll say this, Jamel, that listening to you and to some of the comments, the one that captured my attention the most was the person who said that what there needs to be is clear criteria as to how it will be applied. Mm-hmm. And to a large extent, we're not having to reinvent the wheel, to use that cliche. Mm-hmm. There are many jurisdictions that we can follow in drafting laws. We have one on the books now that can be followed. There's the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act, yes, as well as the Expungement of Convictions Act, which set out how criteria can be applied. So that way it doesn't become a personal thing, yes, such that we've seen, or political, as we've seen with President Trump in the United States, mm-hmm, where some of those pardons, I mean, I saw clips of an interview that he gave on 60 Minutes this past week, in which he represented, he didn't even really know who he was pardoning, mm-hmm, with respect to the fellow in the crypto field, which is a nonsense because he's invested in that as well. But that's where I think the more you can shift it away from politics and put it on matter-of-fact based criteria that shows that it's not personal, it's because you believe that the principle is just and it ought to be applied across the board whenever someone applies and qualifies.
Indeed. Thank you so much for that. Absolutely. And I again, we live in a soundbite era, so I'm glad that you re-emphasized that as well. It has to fit a criteria. It cannot be personal. And you're right. I said yesterday that 60 Minutes conversation with President Trump was the first actual interview I've ever watched him in from start to finish. And I was just, I'll be careful with my comments. I was blown away by, like, wow. this guy really says these things. But
over here in England, they would say gobsmacked, which is a polite way of saying, stunned is an understatement.
Well, again, thank you for stopping by, and we definitely want to just transition to today's conversation. You've seen Bermuda's politics evolve over many years. How would you describe the current state of politics on the island today?
Well, we're between elections and a year out of an election, and the only touchstone I think we have to measure is the last election. And I don't know that much has changed since then. And when I say the touchstone was the last election, we looked at the turnout, that is the interest in even voting, never mind who you were voting for, and then how people did vote. And it was no endorsement of either the government, which won the day, or the opposition, in my view. And it kind of underscored for me what I would describe today, and we're not unique, we see it in other jurisdictions as well, a sort of, people are feeling an economic pain. There's no question about that, and it leads to a lot of anger. And that's getting expression. But there's also what I would call institutional mistrust and political exhaustion. And by that, and I think these are the sorts of things that allowed someone like President Trump to emerge in the United States. People don't care anymore. They just want to roll a grenade, and people vote out of anger, and they want to see some change. They're tired of politics, the same old, same old. And that is being articulated in a way that you can write it out in a brief, a text or WhatsApp or even in an article. It's not being, in my view, articulated, but that's the feeling, that's the emotion that's at play here. And so from where I see it, I see that Bermuda is still in what I call, it's not still, Bermuda is, subsequent to the last election, in a state of flux as people watch and monitor the two political parties and the current actors, that is, the people who are in politics, to see how it is that they're going to tackle their problems. Not when I say their problems, I mean the people's problems, not the politicians' problems. And top of that list comes up cost of living, and how I can advance myself and my children and my children's children in this current economic environment.
Yeah, let's speak about it, because you spoke about this past election, the result not being an endorsement of anyone, the government, the opposition, independents, anyone. But let's start with the OBA, right? The On Bermuda Alliance recently experienced a change in leadership. What's your take on the direction the party is heading, and what qualities do you think its new leader needs to build or rebuild momentum and public confidence?
I think the election of a new leader signals something we often see in oppositions, and that is the continual search for someone who's going to lead them into the promised land, i.e. back to government. And consequently, it's no surprise that they've changed. And the surprise was, I suppose, that they went with Robert King as opposed to Ben Smith, who was the previous deputy leader. Not that it wasn't a close vote. And they're looking for the new key or the new way to win the government back. And Mr. King has promised that in much of what he said and written. That, of course, is the easy part. Always easier said than done. And I think that people are going to keep a close eye on what it is that the OBA do and promise to do. What I mean by do, there was a commitment to have more town hall meetings, to get back to the people, to develop a relationship with the people so that they can advance their cause. Well, we'll see how that turns out. Secondly, I think people want to see them a little more visible and outspoken, particularly in the House of Assembly when it comes to legislation. What is it that you disagree with the PLP? What is it that you agree with the government? And what is it that you will do differently? Now, on that point, Jamal, if you allow me, an interesting thing has emerged. The opposition came up with a piece of legislation for absentee balloting. That's been kicked around for a number of years now, going back to my day, when I was something I advocated for as well. Again, it's not rocket science. There are other jurisdictions that we can pick up, take advantage of and review their legislation and come up with what's needed. And we've been slow to move on it. And I'm calling the collective we here. I'm not trying to pin on anybody. The opposition comes out with a bill, and yesterday I've just read the government came out with a thing and said, look, the opposition shouldn't have gone ahead with this. There are some deficiencies, some gaps here. Pull it back and let's work together to get this done. Well, that seems like a sensible approach, but there's been so much feet dragging on this particular issue. One wonders, but it highlights sometimes that not only the differences between the two political parties, and now it appears there is no difference on this particular issue, but the complete lack of a mechanism whereby two parties who agree on something can get something done and get it done quickly. And this is the kind of thing, in my view, that feeds into what I call political exhaustion and institutional mistrust. Can't these people do what we need to get done and do it for us? And that's where we are today, I think.
Yeah. And just for those tuned in, it's not the first time oppositions have done this. Many a times have taken bills and took them forward. But it's always interesting seeing this. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for Mr. Barritt, you can send them through. So we spoke about the opposition leader position. Looking across the aisle, there's ongoing speculation about who might eventually succeed Premier David Burt. What kind of leadership do you believe the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party will need as it looks to the future?
I think, given the length of time they've been in power, with one interruption when the OBA was in power, I think the people will be looking to the PLP to somehow show that they're going to get things done that are actually going to help me. And again, this goes back principally to the pocketbook, and in terms of getting ahead in Bermuda and in the current economic environment. And they're going to need someone who can speak with authority to these issues and convince the voters, that is, that they will get them done. And I'm guessing here, and I use that word advisedly, that people are getting a little less enamored of politics and politicking, and are more interested in actual solutions and people who can affect these solutions and be honest about it.
Indeed. Let's go back to trust, because you spoke about that. Public trust in politics remains a big concern. From your experience, what can be done to strengthen that trust, not just in politics, but in the entire system of governance?
Well, in Bermuda, we're fortunate this way. I used to love the Joe Louis expression about boxing. He says, in the ring, you can't run and you can't hide. I think that's true in Bermuda too when it comes to actual politicians. People know and get to know their politicians either directly, they know them, they're from their neighborhood, or they're from their people, their families, or they know of them, their reputation from their families. It's important that people maintain in Bermuda that personal contact that you don't get too removed from the people you're seeking to serve. And by that I mean you're not talking to them, you're listening to them. And that's how you build trust. And secondly, you build, and this is something I've always been on about, and some people say, oh, not again, he's going on about that. But Bermuda, in my estimation, my opinion, we never matured as a parliamentary democracy in terms of developing the tools that should be available for people to work cross aisles. And we can lay the blame on that on any number of administrations and successive governments of all parties. And I'll give you one example. There's a vehicle called the Public Accounts Committee, which is one that's meant to be active, chaired by the spokesman for finance for the opposition, but has a majority of government members, that's tasked with reviewing the expenditure of money the issuing of contracts and how money is applied. And we've never, ever really developed that committee to work as it should. And that's where you get, and you require politicians to work one with the other with their sleeves up, tackling a real problem, a problem of some meaning to the people who vote for you, who don't vote, the people you serve, as to how their money is being spent and whether it's being spent wisely. And there are other committees. I've been part of them over the years myself. That it's almost, we've treated committees as a place where you send things to die. You're not really interested in advancing the thing. But an island as small as we are, and given the limited talent we have, and that's no criticism of anybody, it's just a fact of how many people we have, to be not working together as we could is a real crying shame, I have to say. And I keep waiting for someone sometime to change this, to start to change this.
Indeed. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. And audience, I'll get to your comments and questions in a bit. Let's go back, because you mentioned earlier the economy as well. The economy is still front and center for most Bermudians. How do you see the political class responding to those pressures? And are there areas where you think we've missed opportunities for reform or growth?
I think too often in politics, people stop seeing the forest for the trees. They're too concentrated on the issues of the day. Let's go back to something that was mentioned earlier in your discussion with Maya, the affordable basket that's been developed by government. I have to say, this is going to be of some help to some people, no question about it. But it's nothing other than a short-term solution. It's not really fixing the problem or getting to the root of the problem. Now, the root of the problem is basically the cost of importation of goods, and shipping them in or flying them in, whatever the case. And there are some people in Bermuda who are doing very well. We've seen the recent jobs report as well, who are doing very well, who can afford the prices that some of these things cost, and others who simply cannot. There are things outside their reach. So what are we doing to tackle that issue, the root of the problem? Now, it may be that we can't solve it entirely, but we have to be working on innovation and thinking outside the box, to use a well-worn cliche. And let me just pause here. I recently read, and most people probably missed this when the Nobel Prize awards came out, because we were all focused on, don't tell me Donald Trump's going to get one. And he had everybody focused on that and how he deserved one. But the Nobel Peace Prize of Economics, I thought, was an interesting one. 3 gentlemen won that. And what they looked at was, what drives economic growth, and what helps sustain economic growth. And they all came up looking at history. It's innovation, where you allow those people in your community, those people in your nation, the freedom to innovate and to explore new ways of doing things, and funding that, whether it's research or some other way. And that's what's needed. And they talked about in history, you can look back and you can see how it led to creative destruction of products that were no longer efficient. And one thing comes to mind immediately for me when I was reading this is, and remember what Henry Ford said when they asked him if he gave the people what he wanted. He said, if I gave the people what they wanted, I'd have given them faster horses. Instead, I gave them cars. And that kind of illustrates the point I'm trying to make, that in Bermuda, we're always going to have limitations, 20 square miles in the middle of Atlantic, but we've got to find ways to get creative, we'll use that word advisedly, but allow people to innovate to tackle these problems. And we shouldn't look to government. We shouldn't expect government to do this. But what we should expect from our government is giving people the freedom and encouraging to pursue that area. And one area that comes immediately to mind is energy and the cost of electricity. What are we doing to make can we keep going the way we're going with Belco and fuel? What is it that we ought to be looking at to bring that price down in an island as we are in the middle of the Atlantic? And what are we doing to help encourage that?
Yeah, thank you for that. This is awesome, and I appreciate you addressing that, because I remember last month or month before when the regulatory authority must have released the thing about the cell phones, saying that there's going to be a cap, and people were saying, well, what about Belco and so on. Again, Mr. Simmons, Craig Simmons, said it yesterday regarding the grocery thing. It's same as you. It's short term. It's not like, and as I said with my, like, what next? I think short term things like that benefit the politician, for me, just as much as the person who's supposed to be receiving it. And I think Mr. Simmons may have said it yesterday, that some things that politicians will do, you won't see the results for many years after they're probably gone. But unfortunately, they operate between elections, not like, that. So that's the unfortunate part. But I want to go to the audience, because audience, if you have any questions or comments, I'll do my best to get through as many as possible. Michael Daniels.
Let me just say,
CARICOM or not is that question on your radar? But go ahead. You wanted to say something on that.
Yeah, just before I answer that, can I just say that for me personally, and illustrate the point that you were making and Craig Simmons was making yesterday, is that I remember when I was in government, and I happened to be the Minister of Technology, we were the debate then, and we were seeing through a glass darkly at the time, was, gee, should we allow the introduction of cell phones? Is that really going to be the future? And of course, the status quo was arguing, no, you've got to have landlines. The cell phones won't catch on. But we said, no, there are people out there who want to do this, people who want to invest money. Let's let them go. And I laugh today when people who said cell phones wouldn't work and never take off. But I got to tell you, back when I was the minister responsible, it took me a while before I said, oh gosh, no, it's the right thing to do. You make a leap of faith, you try and look into the future, and you do what you think won't necessarily bring you votes tomorrow, but what you think will do right by the country in years to come. And I'm pleased to say that worked out and was picked up by the Progressive Labor Party when I remember when Renee Webb took over as minister, and we moved forward.
Yeah,
that we did, and look where we are. Look what it's done, and I think it has helped to bring down prices. And I'm pleased to see the regulatory authority are doing more to keep that happening.
Yeah. I love that. And thank you for sharing that, because I have read, I think it was Dr. Ewart Brown's book, where I just read about certain things and laws that were pushed back then. And now in hindsight, when you look back, it's like, how were we debating this? And that's the cell phone example just now.
Yeah, you get caught up, as I say, looking at the trees and not the forest, not where you want to, not the vision.
Absolutely. But to Michael Daniels' point, he's to join CARICOM or not, is that a question on your radar? What are your thoughts on the idea the government wants to become a full member of CARICOM?
I'm one of those people who says that you measure twice and cut once. If it's going to bring us some economic advantage, and I know that sounds very crude and mercantile, but if it's one that's going to do that for us, then by all means, let's explore it and see where it takes us. We are an island. We are dependent on the outside world. It has helped in the past, most recently, I think, with President Trump and his tariffs and what he wanted to do with on Chinese-made ships coming out of America. And we need to have as many friends as we can and as many allies as we can, not just politically, but economically.
Indeed. Thank you for that. We've got Charles H. Jeffs II. He says, the problem I have with the absentee voters bill is that I would like to see a more robust approach that at least discusses other changes such as early voting, fixed terms, elections, etc. And real quickly, audience, we will be having MP Dwayne Robinson on tomorrow to speak about the bill that he presented, which is the absentee voters bill. But do you have anything to say as far as early voting and fixed terms elections, Mr. Barritt?
Charles, Jamal, let me just say this, that I sometimes I'm from the school that nothing succeeds like success, and success is something to be prized in politics.
Mhm.
And if you can keep it simple to start with absentee voting and balloting, that's the first step. What I'd hate to see is all reform get tied up because we're trying to take on a big mass of things like fixed terms elections or recall, parliamentary recall, where you can force a by-election where enough people sign a petition. These are all progressive reforms that we can certainly look at implementing. But absentee balloting is one that's been so obvious and around for so long. I really have to believe that it can be done, as it were, tomorrow.
Mm, mm. All right, let's go.
Fixed term elections, I'm all for, by the way, as well.
Yeah, no,
I
jumbling everything up. We've got Amari Simons. This was to your comment earlier. He's just saying, been begging for some action from the PAC, which I believe is the Public Accounts Committee. Anything to say to that? Because there are a lot of people for years who have screamed about government corruption or have been unhappy with certain things when it comes to government spending. Do you also wish that we had more action from the PAC?
You're asking me that question?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it's one of the things I argued for some time ago,
Mhm.
that we needed, and it's the point I made earlier, that we haven't matured as we should have as a parliamentary democracy by fully utilizing this particular committee, because it's an important one to have. I remember when I was a reporter who used to report on proceedings in the House, even backbench MPs of the United Bermuda Party used to call for action and complain about the expenditure that was going on that wasn't being properly monitored or policed by the parliamentarians. And they themselves, of course, had the levers of power and didn't develop this committee. And so it has developed, which is to say not developed over the years. When it's a linchpin in terms of public expenditure and how contracts are awarded and how money's spent. And it ought to be what I would call standing operating procedure, not one that has any controversy about it. They go about their business, and it has MPs on both sides of the House. But sadly, our development over the years, and you can lay blame, as I said, on each and every administration,
Mhm.
have just chosen that, oh, we don't need these people looking over our shoulder. We don't need that. And as a consequence, it's never developed, which is,
Yeah.
and the people who've suffered are the people of Bermuda. It's another favorite expression of mine, if you'll allow me. It's Swahili. Whether the elephants make love or they make war, the grass always suffers.
Yeah,
Think of the people as the grass.
indeed. We've got Anika de Shields asking, would an income or value added tax be more effective?
Then what?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, that's the question. Than our current tax system. I mean, we look. It looks like we're being very blessed with this corporate income tax, and how that takes a big burden off. Raising taxes. I see what they're trying to do here in Britain. People are really complaining that they're being bled left, right, and center by tax. And I think you want to have a fair-based tax system, no question about it. But we may be very fortunate in the coming years with this corporate income tax.
Yeah, let's hope so. After decades of observing and contributing to Bermuda's public life, what gives you hope? And what changes would you like to see in how we approach leadership and accountability in Bermuda?
Well, I'd like to change the way we function as a democracy, and that relies on the people involved being prepared to bring about the change that's needed, so that there are more vehicles for collaboration and cooperation on the issues important to the people of Bermuda than they are for the politicians and their political parties. That's the first thing. I see flashes of this in some of the people who write op-ed pieces who aren't currently in political parties, and some of the comments that people make on social media. The only thing that distresses me about that is that people think that's all they have to do, is they've made their contribution if they make a comment either on the stories on the Gazette or Burr News or on Facebook or Instagram, because it does require more than that to move things forward. But some of what's being said and being thought and shared with me does give me some hope. But then I look and I try not to, as much as I used to, at what goes on in Washington and other places around the world. And that is very distressing, that somehow to me, it signals that we need to change the way we practice politics. It's not advancing people's interests at all. When I say their interests, I mean basic interests, the things that people want to get. How can I do better by my children? How can I assure them of a better future? How can I manage to purchase a house and have a good life? And that's the things that are concerned to people at the end of the day.
Mr.
Bread
Barritt,
and butter, they call them.
There are people out here who are struggling. Yesterday we spoke about how can we give back, and would we rather give time or money? There are people who just don't have the opportunity to give time or money because they're trying to take care of themselves and their families. But what would you say to people who right now they're just feeling hopeless? They're you look at the United States situation, and there's this childlike politics going on, and the people are suffering, not being able to receive their SNAP benefits. In Bermuda, people are just struggling with the cost of living. They're looking at their Belco bills. They're looking at the the grocery bills. And yes, there's this short-term relief, but people just feel like, okay, well, there's this relief, but in 9 months, will I still even have a job with jobs disappearing? Companies, worldwide have been laying people off. Amazon, it's been reported that they expect that 75% of their workforce will be AI very soon. People are not feeling positive about the future. What would you say to them as someone who, loves people, governed for people, and understands the political process?
I wish there is something that I could say that could uplift everybody, because if it was, I'd say it. The best advice I can give is to concentrate on doing what you can do, and to do it as well as you can. And then if you look at change over the years in Bermuda, it has come about, and Walton Brown's book, the title of which escapes me at the moment, underscores this. The change has come about in Bermuda, not from within the parliamentary structure, not from within the House of Assembly or from cabinet. The significant change has come when people from the outside finally decide to organize themselves to bring about change. And that's where I say, don't get too caught up in trolling and social commentary online. You've got to be prepared sometimes to stand up with people in the same situation as you to make that change. And there are people in Bermuda that need to make that catalyst. And you and I both recognize there are some groups outside the political structure who are making moves in this particular area. Join them, encourage them, and do what you can to move things forward. And that's the way in which I think you bring about meaningful change. It always strikes me, with respect to some of the murders that we've had in Bermuda and the gang warfare, the expression, if you see something, say something. Look, there are people who if they don't know, have a very good idea who's involved. And that change is going to come about when the people decide, and in some cases, families and family members decide enough is enough. And they decide the only way to bring about the change is to start helping the police. And that's the way change comes about in Bermuda. And as I say, take a look at Walton Brown's book, the name of which escapes me right now, in which he details how change has really come about in Bermuda.
Indeed. Mr. Barritt, you're like Mr. Simmons, Suzanne Ingham. Come back again soon, Mr. Barritt. So, no, we appreciate you making time for us. Always good
That's
information.
Up to you.
No. I trust you. I'm gonna tell you, like I told Mr. Simmons yesterday. You guys are enjoying a nice retired life, enjoying your families. So when I ask Simone, right, I'm always nervous. Like they're gonna be like, man, I'm chill. But I must say this to the audience. Mr. Barritt is currently overseas supporting his grandson, and he still made time to do this. And I greatly appreciate your family. and yourself for making time to engage, because I'm honest with this. I do get nervous when asking, people who have contributed so much to Bermuda and you're enjoying retirement and your family, hey, would you like to come on and talk? But you all are so gracious and you're so kind and you're always open to sharing the words and engaging and answering questions. And we're grateful. I say this publicly. I am grateful.
Look, I'm happy to do it. It keeps me active. Tomorrow, Jamal, I hit 75. Wow. I never thought I would be that old. But the only way to keep young is to keep active.
Indeed.
And
well,
that's what I'm trying to do.
Mr. Barritt, on behalf of everyone, happy 75th birthday to you. And we definitely would love to have you back soon. So we'll be in touch. And if we don't chat before the holidays, enjoy the holidays with your family and enjoy the rest of your time across the pond.
Thank you, Jamal. You too. You too. You say you're a hypocrite? I don't know about that, but I appreciate your honesty.
I gotta go vote now. That's what I'm rushing you on. Go and vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Mr. John Barritt, folks, if you appreciated that discussion, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We've got Lingovex says, would love to have Mr. Barritt back to discuss his perspective as a business owner. Happy 75th birthday, sir, from Charles H. Jefferson II. He says, thank you, Mr. Barritt. Your perspective is appreciated. John Seymour giving him the claps. Happy 75th birthday, Mr. Barritt from Suzanne Ingham. Folks, we're going to take our final break. Don't go anywhere because we're going to make a Bermuda trivia announcement when we get back. We'll give you the daily play. And this is one of 4 things that Bermuda trivia is announcing. So you do not want to miss this. Stick with us. We'll be back in a very, very short moment.
Being from this little island, like yourself, we knew you needed access to reliable shipping. We set up mailboxes so you can skip all the long waits or held up in customs excuses.
With mailboxes, that won't happen. Get your packages in under 48 hours using our dashboard.
Plus, if you're a planner or headerer, our weekly consolidation service might be for you. We hold your packages in Delaware and ship them together to save you big time on shipping fees.
And with our warehouse being in Delaware, that means 0% sales tax. Pretty cool, right, guys?
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Noah's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda Business starts here.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to Mr. Barritt, John Barritt, for stopping by and really engaging us. And I'm going to say on a regular basis, because he's been on 3 times this year, if not 4, as well as Mr. Simmons. I really appreciate that they trust this platform to engage all of us. So thank you to Mr. Barritt. Again, want to give a big shout out to partners, the BAC group of companies, Medicals, Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and of course, HSBC Bermuda for ensuring we can have these conversations with these guests on a regular basis and engage all of you and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 1075. All right, folks, here's an announcement. It's time for the Daily Play. Daily Play brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, are you ready? It's a remember when. And this question is from the new edition. And whoever answers what this new edition is about first will get a free version of this new edition. All right. So here's the question. All right. Here's the question. I hope Dexter Smith, the editor from the Gazette's tuned in. Blank was Bermuda's first professional footballer to play in England. Wow. Gotta go back much further than Mr. Best. It was not Clyde Best. Rashida Godwin, Engel Vox, translations, Jewel Eve, John Seymour, Emily Gill Deal. Well, I did tell you, guess what edition this is going to be. That's why I asked this Dexter Smith. Mr. Smith, I was going to say you can't play because you were going to get it right. The answer is actually Arnold Willard, folks. Arnold Willard. And this is why Bermuda Trivia exists. Arnold Willard was Bermuda's first professional footballer to play in England, not Sir or Mr. Clyde Best. But yes, Bermuda Trivia Sports Edition will be in stores. That's one of 4 things we're releasing. It is the only regular edition that we'll be releasing this year. So it's a sports edition where you can learn facts like what you learned today, that Arnold Willard was the first Bermudian to play professional football in England. All right. But the sports edition, just to give you some, it has 5 different categories: events, history, international, local, and people. So there's questions about different events, Newport to Bermuda, international, maybe the Olympics, history, learn who our first Olympians were. You can find out history about our local clubs, learn about people like Jenny Smet and Jessica Lewis. It's a very fun edition. So make sure that when it gets in stores, you all get to it, because this Bermuda Trivia exists to have fun, but it's fun with a purpose, to ensure that every last person has access to information. And big props to the Royal Gazette and many others who make sure that they are archiving information that many of us will have access to, and this information is available. So yes, Arnold Willard. Yes, Sheikah Rayna, you win the prize. You will receive please send us an email to engage@thedailyhour.com. You will receive a free edition of Bermuda Trivia. It is the 7th edition of the regular game. It's the sports edition, which will be available in the coming weeks. Zena Trott said, I never heard of him. Wow. Yeah. Charles H. Jefferson II says, great question. I've never heard of him. Yep. That's the hope, right? That with Bermuda Trivia, we're going to have fun, but we're going to learn. John Seymour says, where can we get this trivia game? It's not available yet, but there's stores that do sell Bermuda Trivia. You'll have People's Pharmacy, obviously. I believe Caesars, the Phoenix stores, Brown & Co., Bermuda Bookstore. There's quite a few, and I don't want to get them wrong, but follow Bermuda Trivia on what's that thing? Instagram and Facebook and whatever other platforms you choose, and you will have access to all the information you need to know. All right. Let's go to, I've got to give you some daily inspiration. And I just opened the book. And because I have to run to go vote, folks, I really am going to vote right now. And I really was telling the truth last night that I felt some shame because here I am speaking about our responsibility as citizens. And I honestly just ignore text. I don't read text messages. WhatsApp's different because it's more engaging for me. But here's a quote, and I just opened my quote book. It's Coretta Scott King. She was a civil rights advocate, social activist, feminist, and educator. Many of you may associate her with her husband, Dr. Martin Luther King. But here's a quote. Women, if the soul of the nation is to be saved, I believe that you must become its soul. This goes to the comments yesterday by Mr. Simmons as well. All women are bedrock, and we've got to support them and love them and show them the respect that they deserve, especially when they're so supportive of us. All right, folks, it's time to let you go. But before we do, if you have not done our survey yet, please go on our website, thedailyhour.com. Shamari Sky, John Seymour, whoever else, Michael Daniels, if you haven't done it, fill it out for us. But also don't forget to subscribe on our website, follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, BAC Group of Companies, Medicals, Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can do this with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.